The main question of our study was to investigate how school experiences, specifically how one feels in the school and how one feels towards the school, is related to how one constructs their sense of self, which we refer to as identity.
And we also wanted to see whether this influence is reciprocal. What we mean that we tried to find out how experiences at school might affect identity constructing process, and also it is possible that how young people construct their identities might affect how they actually see school and how they actually feel at school.
So the main finding of our study was that it is actually the school experiences that affect mostly the way young people construct their identities and not otherwise.
Two types of experiences at school: school engagement, actual participation in school-related activities, and school burnout, meaning emotional withdrawal from school, sense of exhaustion, were actually related to identity constructing processes differently.
So these two school experiences were quite differently related to these three identity styles. The school engagement, which is the active involvement in the school activities, mostly promoted this most adaptive way of dealing with identity questions, the informational identity style. And the school burnout mostly promoted these two other strategies, which one of these is avoiding identity questions in general, and the normative style, which reflects the adherence to opinions of important others about your sense of self. I think one of the always most interesting and exciting parts of a research is when you develop a hypothesis before the study, and when you do the empirical study, you find some support for your hypothesis. This is the part which is always quite exciting for us.
And we actually tried to relate aspects of school experiences that were not related before. We tried to relate how engagement in school and exhaustion at school were related to identity constructive processes, and we found confirmation to that. So that was really the most exciting for us as researchers.
Yes.
Our study can be useful to young people because it reminds that it might actually be beneficial to do what school asks to do, to participate in the classroom, to pay attention to teachers, to do the assignments, because it not only helps to get better grades, but it helps to develop as a person as well. Our study can also be useful for professionals working at school, for the teachers, because it just raises their awareness to signs of participation of young people and signs of exhaustion at school. It was quite a long study. The whole study lasted 3 years. We questioned students from 7 schools from 1 district of Lithuania. We met students 3 times, once in a year. We gave them the same questions. So all process took a lot of effort, a lot of time from us. We needed to have a very good contact with students to try to motivate them, to help us to answer the same questions, which sometimes seemed boring to them. Yeah, but we are happy we did it.
I think as a medical instrument it would be mostly close to a scalpel of a surgeon because it's so precise as I see it. So Our study is a quantitative one, a longitudinal one, which also means that we gathered a rather representative sample of adolescents in Lithuania, and we used a quite highly validated instruments to measure those experiences and informational identity styles. And finally, we conducted a quite complicated statistical analysis, which gives really precise estimates of these relationships. So this is why, for me, it's mostly resembles the scalpel of a surgeon. Well, the main keyword for this study, as I see it, would be who I am and how I develop the sense of who I am.
And what I do at school and how I feel at school.